From Montana's news leader, this is the MTN Noon News.
And good afternoon. Thanks for joining us on your MTN statewide news on this Tuesday. I'm Andrea Lutz. New at noon, President Donald Trump is headed to the border to kick off a push to tout his accomplishments while in office. But Democrats are pushing ahead with plans to cut his time in office short after riots at the U.S. Capitol. Natalie Brand has the details from Capitol Hill.
President Trump spoke to reporters for the first time since the assault on the U.S. Capitol. He addressed efforts to remove him from office and pinned anger in the country on Democrats.
This impeachment is causing tremendous anger, and you're doing it, and it's really a terrible thing that they're doing.
Later, he claimed there was nothing wrong with his speech ahead of Wednesday's deadly riot.
It's been analyzed, and people thought that what I said was totally appropriate.
House Democrats accused the president of inciting an insurrection.
The House will be in order.
The House is expected to vote later today on a resolution urging Vice President Mike Pence to invoke the 25th Amendment to remove President Trump from office.
But with Vice President Mike Pence unlikely to take that action, House Democrats are planning for a vote as early as tomorrow on articles of impeachment.
My view that the votes exist and that the right thing to do is to proceed because Donald Trump is a clear and present danger every second, every minute, every hour that he remains in office.
Questions remain about why Capitol Police were not more prepared.
We didn't expect the mob, the riotous, violent mob we got on that day.
Outgoing Police Chief Stephen Sund, who resigned last week, told CBS News he repeatedly asked the Pentagon to send National Guard troops during the attack.
I needed boots on the ground, immediate assistance right then and there, helping to form police lines to help secure up the foundation of the United States Capitol building. They were more concerned with the optics.
The Pentagon says it did not deny the request, but troops didn't arrive until hours later. Natalie Brand, CBS News, Capitol Hill.
Meanwhile, there's at least 10 ongoing investigations into actions of Capitol Police, including one officer seen taking selfies and another who helped direct the mob through the halls of the Capitol. Twitter is on an enforcement spree since that Capitol storming. The social media platform says it suspended more than 70,000 accounts who were promoting the QAnon conspiracy theory. QAnon claims politicians work with global governments to sexually abuse children and that cellular networks spread the COVID-19 virus, none of which those theories have been proven. Twitter says the accounts violate its terms of service for spreading violence. Montana's legislative COVID response panel will look into safety precautions for the session now that a second lawmaker has tested positive. Columbus Representative Fiona Nave received a positive result, and she joins fellow Republican David Beatty of Hamilton, who had the virus last week. So far, Nave hasn't attended the session in person and is working remotely. A bill to expand where guns can be carried is headed to the House floor. The bill would allow people to carry concealed firearms in more places and limit Montana University System's ability to regulate guns on campuses. Lawmakers adding exceptions, including a requirement that requires people to have that safety training. The bill was sponsored by Joliet Congressman Seth Bergley. And the Montana Department of Revenue will not receive additional $1 million so that it can roll out marijuana's legalization. The Revenue Department wants to hire 20 new employees to work on recreational marijuana applications and open dispensaries starting October 1st. The request was shot down by Billings Congressman Bill Mercer. Mercer saying it's too soon to commit to that much money.
I think we thought we need more time to really sort through what's needed, on what timetable, and do we stick with the timetable in the initiative, or do we say, well, if this is going to be too much too fast, do we try to extend the time period that was set forth in the initiative?
Governor Greg Gianforte says his administration plans to redirect the tax revenue from marijuana sales to addiction recovery. Taking a break from all of that news, of course, to check in on the weather, there's our old friend Ed McIntosh over there.
Ta-da, here I am.
Hey.
You know, there's weather going on, so I wanted to come and talk about it.
I think that's a good idea.
Yeah, let's take a look at the western portion of the state, starting to see rain and snow showers. In fact, some freezing precipitation that's causing some travel concerns in western Montana. Just a few random pictures for the ones we were able to grab near Glacier National Park, the Essex area. That's usually a hazardous area. Downtown Whitefish, wet right now as we take a look at the webcam from there. Lookout Pass as we start going into Idaho. You can see some problems there. And then also in Hamilton with some wet roads and some decreased visibility. But that's just the beginning. Wind is going to really be the big news as we get into the next couple of days. We'll take a look at that coming up in a few minutes.
All right, Ed, thanks for that. Flathead County is getting ready to ramp up vaccination efforts with another 1,300 doses expected next week. Health Officer Joe Russell says new shipments will go to those in Tier 1B plan, including those 70 years and older and people with underlying medical conditions. The county's distribution plan has run smooth so far, with almost 1,200 people receiving both doses of the Pfizer vaccine and 1,400 people getting the Moderna vaccine. The county plans to follow state and CDC recommendations very strictly. At the University of Montana, health officials say there's COVID-19 rapid test kits available at the Curry Health Center for symptomatic students. Last semester, Curry Health Center was testing up to 90 students a day, and results usually were coming back within 1 to 3 hours. Students contacted immediately. In addition to the symptomatic tests, I should say, over the next 2 weeks, asymptomatic students who are coming back from winter break outside of Missoula can also get tested.
So there's a nasal swab. The members of the National Guard will do that, essentially put it on the card, and you'll have a test result by the end of the day. People that are positive, we would call them and arrange for what would happen next. If you're negative, we usually notify you by a secure email.
And officials hope asymptomatic testing will catch positive cases early and get students in quarantine. Testing is free and only available to students right now. Bozeman schools have a new reopening plan. The school board approved a proposal just last night. High school students are slated to return to more in-person learning at the start of the semester. But that's, of course, unless they choose remote learning. Students can return to school 4 days a week starting at the beginning of next semester. That's unless newly developed metrics tell trustees and administrators that's not appropriate, something they hope to learn within the next 2 weeks. Well, today marks the 79th anniversary of the passing of Fort Bentons Shepherd, the forever faithful sheepdog. So this is how the story goes. In 1936, the border collie followed his ill master to St. Clair Hospital, but when the man died, his coffin was sent on a train back east with the family. Well, for the next 5 years, Shep greeted passengers looking for his lost master. But then in 1942, the old sheepdog was struck and killed by a train. 2 days later, a funeral was held and hundreds attended. People still visit Fort Benton to learn more about Shep, the dog that embodied what it means to be man's best friend. Well, organizers of Montana's longest running sled dog race say the event this year has got to be canceled. The Race to the Sky is held each February and runs between Lincoln and Seeley Lake. According to a Facebook post, organizers say the race is canceled due to COVID-19 restrictions, but they say they're looking forward to racing again in 2022. The Race to the Sky started in 1986 as the Governor's Cup sled dog race, and the race commemorates the Camp Rimini War Dog Reception and Training Center, which was set up in advance of World War II's invasion of Norway. We do have more news ahead on this Tuesday on the New News, including this. A man is making sure everybody in his community is getting fed. We'll have that story out of Great Falls coming up. But first, Ed is going to be back in with a look at that statewide weather forecast.